Nepal has been on the edge. In 2006, protests forced Gyanendra Shah to give up power. It led to the end of monarchy in Nepal in 2008. 19 years later, protests are happening once again, this time to bring back former monarch Gyanendra Shah as the king of Nepal. Nepal is in the middle of a political showdown with royalist forces demanding the restoration of Nepal's status as a constitutional monarchy and the Hindu Rashtra. In the last few days, Kathmandu has witnessed a dramatic and violent resurgence of pro-monarchy sentiment, with thousands of protesters calling for the return of the king. With their national flag waving, protesters resorted to setting houses on fire, breaking barricades and clashing with security forces. 2 people have been killed and 110 others injured in the clashes so far. A curfew was imposed over the weekend as well. Take a look at this report that Times Network's Saket Singh sent in.
काठमांडू में एक बार फिर से सड़कों पर जो राजशाही समर्थक हैं वो उतरे हैं। आप देखिए यहाँ पर काठमांडू पर किस तरह से सुरक्षा व्यवस्था टाइट रखी गई है। कई पुलिसकर्मी यहाँ पर आपको तस्वीरों में दिख रहे होंगे, तैनात किए गए हैं सड़कों पर। और दूसरी तरफ जो प्रोटेस्टर्स हैं वो यहाँ पर सड़क के ऊपर खड़े हैं। आप देखिए बड़ी संख्या में ये तमाम प्रोटेस्टर यहाँ पर पहुंचे हैं और इन लोगों की मांग है जो गिरफ्तार हुए हैं इस आंदोलन में, जितनी भी गिरफ्तारियां हुई है उन लोगों को रिहा किया जाए। इस मांग को लेकर ये तमाम जो प्रोटेस्टर्स हैं वो सड़कों पर उतरे हैं और लगातार नारेबाजी यहाँ पर चल रही है इन लोगों के तरफ से। विरोध प्रदर्शन जो है वो एक बार फिर से काठमांडू में सड़कों पर देखने को मिल रहा है। तो ये प्रोटेस्ट देखिए किस तरह से जो तमाम लोग हैं वो हाथों में बैनर, पोस्टर्स लेकर सड़कों पर अपना प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं। एक बार हम बात कर लेते हैं। आप देखिए यहाँ पर किस तरह से तमाम जो लोग हैं वो जुटे हुए हैं। एक बार हम बात करने की कोशिश करते हैं। एक बार बात हम करते हैं। आप लोग आज फिर से एक बार सड़क पे हैं, क्या मांग है?
हमारा मांग ये भ्रष्ट सरकार, ये देशद्रोही सरकार को ये देश से ही भगाना पड़ेगा। फिर से सदियों से हमारा जो धर्म था वैदिक सनातन हिंदू राष्ट्र, राजा सहित का वैदिक सनातन हिंदू राष्ट्र पुनः स्थापना करने के लिए ये शांतिपूर्ण आंदोलन कर रहे हैं। आज थोड़ा एक मैसेज जैसा है। अगर इतना बोलते बोलते भी नहीं सुना तो फिर बहुत बड़ा आंदोलन होने वाला है। ये देश बर्बाद कर दिया है नेता लोग ने। दिस गवर्नमेंट इज टोटली करप्टेड, दे किल द पीपल। शांतिपूर्ण आंदोलन में भी वो लोग ने अश्रु गैस प्रहार किया, बंदूक से गोली निकाल के युवा को मार दिया। हम इंटरनेशनल समुदाय को भी क्या बोलना चाहते हैं कि देखिए ये तानाशाह कम्युनिस्ट सरकार क्या कर रहा है इधर।
Now, amid this unrest, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has held an emergency meeting with alliance leaders to address the escalating situation. In fact, the Oli government has also imposed a travel ban on Gyanendra Shah. He has been fined 7,93,000 Nepali rupees as compensation against the damage. Reports also suggest that his passport has been seized and his security cover has been reduced. Now, Gyanendra Shah, remember, is the second son of Crown Prince Mahendra, who became the king in 2002 after the infamous royal massacre which killed his family in 2001. He ruled as the constitutional head of the state without executive or political powers until 2005, when he seized absolute power. That time, he had disbanded Nepal's government and parliament, jailed politicians and journalists reportedly, and cut off communication, declaring a state of emergency, while using the country's army to seize power. Nepal has witnessed 13 different governments in 17 years. The big question now is, who will win this Game of Thrones? Let me quickly introduce my guests on the show. I'm joined by Mr. Amar Pradhan, former news anchor at Kantipur Television, joining us from Kathmandu. I'm also joined by Ambassador Manjeev Singh Puri. He's also served in Nepal. Good evening and namaskar to both of you, gentlemen. Mr. Amar Pradhan, let me begin with you and understand what the latest situation is there in Kathmandu, and also what you think of these protests. Are they organic in nature or are they politically motivated?
Yes, Shreya, a very good evening from Kathmandu. Let me first correct some of the statements that you have just said, like the government is just pondering on putting a travel ban on the former King Gyanendra. This has not been, the decision has not been taken. And the same thing about the cancelling his passport.
Okay.
This decision has still not been taken. So the government is just speculating
Okay.
on its decision, on its next move regarding the former King Gyanendra. And regarding this present movement to reinstate former King Gyanendra in Nepal, so we need to look back this movement that is taking place in the Himalayan kingdom. This movement is not just a case of overnight thing. All right. This is we need to go back to the year 2008 when monarchy was abolished from Nepal. Okay, the 2008 when monarchy was abolished in Nepal, like there were so many things that happened, and the journalist fraternity in India might well be knowing this thing that this comprehensive peace accord that materialized in New Delhi, and this, according to the comprehensive peace accord, monarchy was abolished in Nepal, and there was this simmering this simmering thing, the frustration, all right, the frustration, and this thing that the people in Nepal, that what they actually wanted to know was like how monarchy was established, how monarchy was removed from Nepal, how it was abolished without a referendum. And in the year 2008, when monarchy was abolished in Nepal, the public opinion was that the public opinion wanted a Hindu state. All right, they wanted Hindu state and a ceremonial monarchy. And 17 years down the line, in the year 2025, 17 years down the line, the politicians, like in this 17 years, as you were also telling that the nation has seen 13 changes in government. So basically it is a political instability, a lack of unemployment, massive corruption, massive inflation. This has been a deadly cocktail. And people here have not been able to tolerate the kind of anarchy, the kind of chaos that the people in Nepal, they are experiencing right now. And so what I'm trying to put here is that, so this movement that we are seeing here, this has not resulted, this is not something that resulted overnight. So this is all happening, all this result of 17 years of anarchy and chaos that the countrymen witnessed. And last month, 19th February last month, that was a very iconic day in Nepal. According to our calendar, it was Falgun 7th. And the former King Gyanendra, he made a public address, and where he called upon the support of all the people, as you can see in the picture, like he called upon the support of all the people to support him. And as a response, on 9th of March, earlier this month, on 9th of March, when the king had visited the different shrines all over Nepal, and he was coming back to Nepal. When he was coming back to Kathmandu, there was a massive reception to welcome the former king at the time.
Yes.
And it is estimated that
those visuals, Mr. Pradhan, of course, were circulated in media. The kind of rousing welcome that he got was circulated, and I'm glad that you clarified on the fact that, his passport has not been seized, because there are very, grainy reports that are coming out of Nepal, considering the fact that the situation remains unstable there. So we don't have very clarified, clear reports coming out of Kathmandu. But Ambassador Puri, to you, what do you think of this entire situation? Like Mr. Pradhan mentioned, a number of challenges that the people faced. Political instability is something that Nepal has witnessed for years, and therefore the citizens of Nepal have grappled with the impact that that political instability has had on them. Corruption is one. Coalitions keep changing. One party, ties up with another. Then after elections, they tie up with the opposing party. All of that really has tied in and led to the kind of unrest and the kind of frustration that Nepal is seeing today.
Shreya, thank you very much. Now, Shreya, it's not for me to correct somebody sitting in Nepal and that to a Nepali. But I want to point out something to you. I don't think there's any great protest happening today. There was a protest on Friday where the monarchists were about 7,000, and there were
Yes.
20,000 people on the Republican side, by the way. Yeah, the monarchists were the ones who indulged in arson and looting. So let's be a little clear about all this. In Nepal, there should be no doubt that over the years, and especially now, the population is quite empowered. That's a little bit different from us. You know, we tend to think it's just like India. It's a very empowered population. They face a lot of challenges after COVID, particularly issues of the economy, unemployment, etc. And so there is a kind of frustration, as you use the very correct word, within the population. These are obviously issues which get used by people. And we should be no doubt that there is a simmering interest in certain sections of the Nepali population about hankering for the Hindu state, the monarchy, etc. Of course, there are these people that cannot be wished away. But I want to just point out to you, 3 elections have been held since the monarchy was abolished. And the pro-monarchy parties have hardly done anything in them. They've hardly succeeded in getting even significant number of members of parliament. In fact, in one election, they were nearly wiped out. Point I'm trying to make to you, the situation is serious. That is not something that one should look the other way around. There are the simmering discontent among the people. For some people, the monarchy provides a rallying point. Some others use that to play this game up. Absolutely true. But the government itself and the state is strong. They've taken strong measures there. I don't know what measures they've taken on other things, but you reported some kind of fine. This was reported there, etc. And therefore, my understanding is these are matters that need to be politically handled by the leadership in Nepal. They should understand quite clearly that they've had a run for about 20 odd years, the same people sort of changing around musical chairs and so on and so forth. But there is a certain discontent among the people. They perhaps don't know where to turn to. Therefore, some turn to what used to be the case in the past. But the reality is that the political leadership in Nepal needs to understand that it's a country where you need maturity and you need to be willing to work in the direction of people's interest. You know, Amar mentioned the questions which, let me use a better expression, rent seekers, etc. These are endemic in Nepal. But it's important that the leadership also realize that the people are empowered, they want good governance, and that's important to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Pradhan, Ambassador Puri making an important point there that the political leadership needs to come up with a solution so that the protesters' demands and fears are also allayed. And as far as the KP Sharma Oli government is concerned, how much do you think is the government making an attempt to at least talk with these protesters, have some sort of dialogue with them? Is there any intention at the moment?
Sadly, our present Prime Minister, KP Sharma Oli, he has not shown any kind of inclination to hold any kind of dialogue to address the kind of this discrepancies that is emerging. He has actually he's in a mindset to undermine any kind of uprising that is currently taking place in Nepal, and many politicians in the ruling government they have like today in the parliament, like they were actually suggesting that Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli should adopt a little flexible approach towards what is actually happening here, and he should not ignore, like as what we have heard until this point is that he has actually in a mindset to ignore all kinds of the voices that has been raised against the present government. Shreya.
Okay. Mr. Pradhan, can I also understand from you, any government that comes in, rules Nepal, wouldn't they be against the monarchy, especially when Mr. Gyanendra Shah is at the helm of affairs, considering that he has had a past record of taking away power from the current government using military? Isn't that fear going to dominate every government's mind when they're dealing with Mr. Gyanendra Shah?
Yes, that's true, Shreya. Former King Gyanendra, when he was in power, he had exercised absolute power. That is also true. But what the public grievances right now is that, like, what they experienced in the 17 years, maybe this is the worst time Nepal has experienced in its history. So, choosing among the two bad things, maybe
Okay.
maybe Gyanendra emerges as better among the two bad things. So the people sentiment is currently with the former king Gyanendra. Shreya.
Okay, okay. Ambassador Puri, you want to come in on this? 17 years is a long time. 2001 is when that royal massacre happened. And it's not like the former king, Gyanendra Shah, was, at least there was conspiracy theories around him as well when that royal massacre had happened. And then he came into power. Then there was all of that absolute power that was, seized by him through the military. Do you think the younger generation now understands that? Do they have an understanding of what the country, their own country, has seen in the past, experienced in the past?
Yeah, look, Nepal is a young country, and I'm not sure how many people even have any such recollection. This possibly could be a positive. For many others, certainly not. Let me point out to you that Gyanendra is the younger brother of King Mahendra. He wasn't his son. And that's where this conspiracy thing that you have, but let's not talk about all that. Those are just hearsay and so on and so forth. Yes, he did rule as an absolute monarch, and he was pushed out by people coming onto the streets. And in fact, the fact of the matter is that the state machinery said, sir, you please leave. And there was no choice in the matter. And he has really not had any role. After all, he can become a political player and come to the fore. What is the issue? As I said, parties which are supposed to be pro-monarchy parties really haven't done well. That doesn't mean that within some sections of society, there isn't a certain yearning for maybe the monarchy, the Hindu state, etc., etc. That remains true, and that should be addressed. I am a firm believer that political matters should be handled politically. I don't think this is an issue which can't be tackled out there and which is at such a level that it's the water has gone over the head. Not at all. But it's very important that you do it and you address the people and their grievances which are genuine. There's a degree of frustration among the people, the younger people. And remember, there's something else here, which we should remember. Because Nepal has globalized quite a lot, there's a great deal of 25% of the Nepalese population is overseas, and I'm not talking about India. There's a great presence of the Western countries, etc., all across Nepal. This globalization has empowered people, younger people, and so on and so forth. And so, therefore, their grievances have a genuineness, but they also feel empowered to be able to bring them to the fore. The king is perhaps for some a rallying point. There would be others having other rallying points. And it's important that the political class address themselves to it. The simple thing that people say is the same people have been in power for the last 18, 20 years, and they keep changing among themselves. Is that really bringing an answer? But on the other hand, I must point out in the last 20 years, Nepal has changed considerably. From being a relatively low-down country, it's at the cusp of, exiting being a least developed country. Remittances are huge. It's among the 5 largest recipient of remittances to GDP ratio. Please go to Kathmandu, you see hotels, this, that, and the other, everything coming up. So, it's a changed society in the last 20 years and a society which has benefited greatly from globalization. So these are factors which we in India also need to be mindful of.
Okay. Mr. Pradhan, if these protests sustain and monarchy does come back to Nepal, do you think it's going to be the one-stop solution for all the problems that the Nepalese are facing today?
Uh, yes, Shreya, this is a very, very vital question, I think. Talking about the solution to Nepal's problem, like this can't be done overnight. So King Gyanendra, as we saw in the past, he had exercised absolute power, and the general perception of the people is that King Gyanendra should also change, and he must have learned his lessons. No, that is general perception. But as our respective His Excellency Puri was saying that although this movement to reinstate monarchy is going on, like as our present Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, he looks hell bent on suppressing this movement by force. So this could still be early to talk about the return of Gyanendra Shah. And after what happened last Friday, this movement of reinstating King Gyanendra, though
Yes.
for briefly it looked very rosy, but since then, in the last 2 or 3 days, we haven't seen the kind of scale the movement could have desired. So I think it is still early to speculate that former King Gyanendra might return to power. Shreya.
Okay. Ambassador Manjeev Puri, before I wrap up, a quick question to you. One of the countries that might be a little unsettled with these protests would be China, considering that the current Nepalese regime is seen as being close to Xi Jinping. Do you see them acting upon this or just staying away?
That's a very important question. Now, I want to say something else to you. I am worried about something else. That this particular set of actions, this business of the king and resurrection of the king, etc., it shouldn't be used by Nepali politicians in any way to look at India. India has abiding relations with Nepal, and India is very interested in a stable Nepal. And it's very easy for Nepali politicians to turn around and heap all the blame on India. We've taken very nice measured steps. I think the foreign ministry has said it's their internal affair, but we are keeping a close watch. Obviously, we have an open border, we have so much of trade and so on and so forth. As far as the northern neighbor is concerned, they are in a position to do business with anyone. And let me take you back to history. Nepal was a kingdom, and it was the kings used to play the China card vis-a-vis India. So, I don't want to just say that, but for them also, there would be a one-stop shop. While we are very sanguine that this kind of thing would have some kind of civilizational link, but the fact of the matter is that large players are able to play every way in any other particular context. Nepal's stability, I think, is particularly important for India. Nepal being properly governed and governed in the best possible way, given its economic limitations, is particularly important. And I hope that the political leadership will act politically on a matter which is essentially political.
All right, we'll leave it there. Let's see how the next few weeks pan out in Nepal. Thank you very much to both of you gentlemen, Ambassador Manjeev Puri and Mr. Amar Pradhan, for joining us and sharing your perspectives on this situation in Kathmandu. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap on Global Mirror. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye. Up next is Ritanshu Bhattacharya with Beyond the Headline.